Welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are having a great day. And today we're going to talk about the controversial figure Andrew Tate, but why Bitcoin NYK supports Andrew Tate. So, people have varying opinions about Andrew Tate. Some have put out ideas and claims that he's beat women, that he's basically degrades women. He seems to be connected to this red pill community. Now, what we want to say about that is that I have no connection to the red pill community, nor do I share philosophically any of their views in particular. I would say I disagree with things that come from the red pill community and Andrew Tate. But what I think is more important here, and what I'm looking at here, the big concern I think is with what's happened with Andrew Tate. Specifically talking about his band. And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, he's kind of one of these damn Blazarian type of guys, image wise, but then it's, the red pill community is basically, basically talking about men who don't approve of the women, the culture of women today, to keep it short. And, again, the purpose of the video isn't, so much about, talking about, what are these viewpoints or correct or not. The more focused, concerning issue is that when you build up a certain social media accounts that have been connected to large scale businesses now, and also obviously connected to the right of freedom of speech to say certain things. I think what happened in Andrew Tate's case is that there was a petition that was created to drive him off of all these major social media networks, and like a dominoes, they kind of fell down, right? And I think the concern is what happens when we get a culture of people who can silence people because they don't like what they say. Now, I want to kind of draw the line with that too, as well as saying some people throw the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, what I'm saying here is that some people will go to the far extreme of situations like this and say, well, people should be able to say what they want, do what they want, show what they want, right? And of course, we can see many issues with that. You could be talking about slavery. You could be talking about child pornography. You could be talking about terrorist networks, right? All formulating up racial hate groups, right? Organizing, right? Using social media, and without the ability to stop these people or whatnot, then in a sense, you would be enabling some of the most degraded, terrible areas of our humanity to thrive, right? And so, what we get with a very libertarian viewpoint, right? If it's left up to its devices, right? I'm not taking any sides on this. I'm just simply saying that sides can go to extremes on this. You can go to the extreme of what some people have, I believe, erroneously deemed freedom of speech, to the point where people cancel everybody and people don't get to say everything, right? I don't think you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is the point I'm making here, and this is a big problem with the blockchain and cryptocurrency, where everything is immutable, right? The solution to encrypt in the blockchain is just let all these things exist and let them thrive and let them network. I don't believe that it has to be an either or situation. I think that there can exist democratic governance models where everybody gets a say as to what they want to state and what they want to go. Now, the problem, just like politics and what happens with solutions like the blockchain, um, is that oftentimes to power these networks, you need electricity, which means you need resources. Uh, Ergo, you need money, right? What happens when money is the controlling factor in a decision making process in a governance model, right? And who gets to stay on social media platforms? Well, then the people with the most money decide who get to stay. And then if you're not on the right side of those people, you lose out. And that's similar to what happens with many of these major social networks, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., is that they have a board of directors, they have a group of shareholders, they have multi-billionaire partnerships with other business associates that don't want to see certain people on these platforms that have kind of went beyond what would be considered um, you know, just a standard business, right? Because you can be shut up, you can't communicate through these business models. But how capitalism works, right? You have to let private industry and businesses control your media. Otherwise, what do you get? You get state and national media in many cases, right? Or you get some private governance models that might be a pseudo state controlled, right? Again, going back to what people with money can control what's said and done. And most blockchain networks fall under the crippling effect of resources and still going back to whoever gets the most money can pretty much control that network's say so, right? And censorship and etc. So um, Bitcoin and YK is supporting people like Andrew Tate, not because they agree or we agree with what he says, but because we feel that the way it is handled, um, and this isn't a flaw in YouTube's model. I want to be clear about that. It's not a flaw to remove Andrew Tate. It's not a flaw in YouTube's model. It's not a flaw in Twitter's model. It's not a flaw in Facebook's model. And the reason it's not a flaw, and I want everybody to understand this, is because what they've done is they've looked at their bottom dollar as a business, right? And as a business, your personal wants, right, doesn't impact that business, right? It doesn't matter to that business. That business exists to make a profit, and whoever's giving it that profit, because it's a business structured in that way, it oversteps, your idea of what is fair or what is not as fair, right? Or what do you deem freedom of speech or not, right? That's why Bitcoin MYK, I believe, is the answer to the future, not only in the standard business models, but even on the blockchain that has been taken over by monetary control, right? Which is, again, a pseudo version of what's happening with these larger entities, the Twitters and Facebooks, as it were, right? Bitcoin MYK operates somewhere in the nether region of capitalism, control and making money, and your ideas of freedom of speech. If it existed as a standard in a standard economy, it exists on the blockchain, so it's not connected to the standard economy. But if it did, then I would look at it more as like a nonprofit organization in which can't necessarily be controlled by money because it's or resources because that is not really its model. Its model isn't so much to be a profit machine as much as its purpose is to give you a voice uh, to your freedom of speech, right, and to improve humanity, right. This is something totally different, right. This is if we're looking at it strictly from a business standpoint, again, this is in the realm of what the idea of the social company is, right. And the idea of the social company was that your employees get treated well, right, and your employees being treated well and fair and them being healthy it takes precedence over being profitable, right? Right. So it's almost a utopian like idea. The only thing about Bitcoin and YK, the model exists. So let's explain, or let's kind of rehearse Andrew Tate's situation. What would happen in Andrew Tate's situation on Bitcoin MYK? Will he be able to roam free, say whatever he wants, hurt whomever he wants, when he wants? No, he wouldn't. But what he would have is a more judicial process, right? And how he's removed. That's to say, it wouldn't just be, um, a few people or even necessarily like a petition that could get him out, or YouTube or Google or whomever decided, hey, this is just bad for our business, right? It would be a little bit more complicated than that. Think of like a judicial situation where a verdict is read off, where most of the people would like for a person to be found guilty, but the evidence isn't there. So even though a great multitude of people want a person to be found guilty, they're not, because it's purely on the evidence and the facts in the judicial proceeding. And when that's made, that stand, whether it hurts that state municipality or not, that verdict stands. And this is the model what Bitcoin MYK is doing, right? You have a vote mechanism here. As a social media, everything Andrew Tate did on these social media platforms he's been banned from, he could do on Bitcoin MYK. And this is what we're going to have to look at, because many of you guys who are out there who have become quite successful on platforms like this, YouTube, who make millions a year doing YouTube, right? Now you're faced with the reality of, hey, I may lose my account. YouTube, for whatever reason, might not deem it appropriate content, and then your business is over. Now, a lot of these guys, after this happens, they attempt to run over, start their own website. They think they have millions and billions of followers, right? That are going to follow them to their other websites. Never works. It always fails. Jordan Peterson attempted it, didn't work, right? He's a great deal more successful than many of you are. So here's the thing. That's probably not going to work well. So until a system like this exists with a fair governance models on how you're removed, right, where the community comes in, they vote you in or vote you out, and that stands, right? And that's the only way you're going to go. Then that works a little bit more democratically. It gives you a fairer chance and a more fair fight, right? It doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater like 90% of the blockchain products want to do. They just want to allow you to do any and everything, right? Which may not be helpful to society, right? Solves one problem, creates several dozen others. So where do we find a product that solves this problem? It is Bitcoin MYK. This is what you should be joining. This is what you should be using, should have an account here, even if you got accounts on these other platforms. The other thing, going back to why people don't follow people to off of these major platforms, people are just utterly lazy. And they're creatures of habit, right? They're just not gonna go, hey, I shouldn't even be on platforms that can, to me, violate my rights in some way. Now, I don't think they violate any of your rights. I think you sign a term of service, right? A disagreement, and what happens is you just don't abide by whatever they deem their rules are, right? It's their house, it's their party. They can cry if they want to. They can do what they want to. But what Bitcoin MYK offers is a model that doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you don't want to see this person on the site, there is a judicial process, right? Where any and everybody can join the site, cast their votes whether you go or stay. And that is what stands, right? It's not a decision that they may or may not make because they have a board of directors that have funded these private companies. Bitcoin MYK is the answer to all this. And again, if you're a big YouTuber, even if you seem like you're in good standing with many of these social media sites, you need an account with a system like this where you can vote on who stays. And as you can see, everybody who's joining, you're also going to see people who are on their way of being banned and thrown out. And some of their posts have already been removed because what they've attempted to do is violate terms of service in which the community voted them out. This is going to have to be the way of the future, right? So join Bitcoin MYK today. It's even better than that because you are all participants in the system. instead of the value of the network going back to a board of directors or shareholders, it goes to you, right? It's also a cryptocurrency created through your activity that you receive that you can trade for dollars on exchanges, right? So I won't go in a lot of detail into it because the videos run a little bit too long. But Andrew Tate and anybody else will be supported on Bitcoin MYK until the community, through a judicial process, meaning a vote system, where everybody gets to vote and no vote is higher than the other, right? We have ways to determine that the accounts are authentic, that they aren't duplicate accounts, and we go through a very vigorous process, right, in determining that. And the consequences for having a duplicate multiple account are very, very severe, to the point it will discourage many from trying to find ways to circumvent our system, right, and abuse the system. But anyway, that's what I want to say in that video. Think about where you're at social media. Think about how this happened to Andrew Tate, and take the action of joining a site like Bitcoin MYK where that doesn't happen. Don't be lazy. The reason that all of Andrew Tate's followers don't follow him off of these major social media sites onto his own business website is because they are lazy. Don't be lazy. Look at the seriousness of this. And if you are lazy and you think it's not doing anything for you, I want to correct you where you're wrong with that on Bitcoin MYK. With Bitcoin MYK, you actually earn cryptocurrency just for logging in every day, participating. So you're getting something out of the deal, so you don't feel like you're not incentivized enough to join it. So think about all that. Think about the situation you're in. Your whole communication network has been basically monopolized to a few major social media sites that control your destiny. And this is nothing bad against Facebook, Twitter as business models. I think they're excellent models. I don't think anything's wrong with them. I think what's wrong is that people haven't read the terms of service, don't think about these things, and think that they can do many things that they can't do. Right, and that's a mistake on their part to put themselves in that situation. When I ask them to join places like Bitcoin MYK, they go, "Oh, it's not a lot of activity over there. I don't think I want to do that right now." They're being lazy, like the people who don't follow them off of social media onto their websites are being lazy. So it's a circle of laziness where people are getting trapped up into this thing. Take a moment, join Bitcoin MYK. You won't have that problem. That's all I want to say in this video. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.